Nagano, in the heart of the Japanese mountains. After months of negotiations, we have been given permission to film inside the prison.
Hello. Ah, そうですか。すみません。私担当がですね、中の受刑者を受け持つ担当になりました。
The prison houses 900 inmates, all men, ranging from common offenders to murderers. The management has established some terms. We are not allowed to film the doors or question the guards in front of the inmates. And above all, we are not allowed to address the prisoners. At the end of filming, only 2 of them will be able to answer our questions, in the presence of the guards. Over the course of 2 days, we will discover the Japanese prison world. From a Western perspective, it is a disciplinary hell. Inside, we are struck by the silence, by the impeccable order. Even the sandals are lined up in front of the cells. In the morning, the prisoners are woken up by the guards' shouts, but also by classical music. In some cells, 6 men. Others are individual cells, reserved for the best-behaved prisoners. Here there is no prison overcrowding like in European countries, and no unsanitary conditions either. The building is modern and perfectly clean. But the prisoners' lives are regulated precisely to the millimeter. Every move is timed. They have exactly 1 hour to eat breakfast, brush their teeth and shave, everyone at the same time. And then the entire cell has to be cleaned thoroughly. Everything has to be put in exactly the right place. The guards check that everything is in order.
布団の畳み方などですけれども、折り目がすべて同じ方向に向いているように畳ませます。これは全部畳み方も全部決まっています。で、布団の畳んでいる位置ですね。位置も決まっています。で、机の位置、こういったものも決まっていますから、定められた位置にちゃんと置かれているのか、畳まれているのかということもチェックします。
If prisoners break a rule, they receive a warning. If they persist, they are punished.
懲罰の種類というものは全く同じで、その単独室の中に彼らを収容して、そこで反省を促す、もう作業もなし、そこで、反省をしなさいということで、そこで座って、ただ反省を促すというような懲罰を課すことになるんですけれども、The Japanese way, seiza or like this is kisapel agura.
The punishment can last between 1 and 60 days in solitary confinement with no activities, no television, no reading. For the prison staff, this is not bullying. It's just a Japanese view of order, where everything is organized according to the group, not the individual. A world apart. It is this prison regime that Carlos Ghosn would have faced if convicted, and that he wanted to escape at all costs. How does such a particular judicial system work? Though simply strict in the eyes of the Japanese, to foreigners who are arrested, it may seem inhumane.
D'un côté, j'étais entouré de policiers, il y en a deux qui me tiennent de chaque côté. J'avais aussi une corde autour de la taille.
Investigations often rely on confessions, which can lead to miscarriages of justice.
これはもう連れて行かれて狭い部屋で窓もない何にもない部屋で前に刑事と横に刑事がいてそしてもうお前がやったんだろうってもうまるっきり犯人扱い
一口で言えばもう拷問と等しいような手段もやれと言われたことありますよね。
This love of order is rooted in the country's culture, where discipline and rules are paramount.
And nobody ever talks in the train because it's like, do you hear that sound? Are people talking? No, you don't, because they're not talking.
Standards reinforced by the people who go as far as celebrating their prison system.
刑務所大好き。逮捕された時の。Yeah.
Why would you create a fiesta in a prison? It's a prison.
Japan has one of the lowest crime rates in the world. The number of prisoners is proportionally 4 times lower than in France. Today, the prisons are emptying out, and the prison population is aging. This system is sometimes incomprehensible to Westerners, but the Japanese did not tolerate Carlos Ghosn's refusal to abide by it. This is an investigation into the heart of a machine that, though effective, can break lives. On the 8th of January, the eyes of the world are turned to the Lebanese capital, Beirut. After 14 months in prison and then under house arrest, Carlos Ghosn is about to give a press conference following his impressive escape from Japan. There's a lot of excitement. All the media are invited, except the Japanese, who stay at the door.
東京から今朝着いたんですけど、ね、いろいろ質問しようかなと思ってゴーンさんに来たんですけど、なかなかちょっと保釈の条件で海外に行っちゃいけないっていうのが一つの条件だったんですよ。で、彼はそれも破ってる。で、裁判に自分は出てちゃんと無罪を証明するって彼は約束をしてるんです。日本で。で、その彼の約束も破ってるので、まあ残念な気持ちではあります。
Ladies and gentlemen.
Inside the press union, Carlos Ghosn makes his entrance under flashes. He's the boss, and he wants to show it. He organises the order of questions himself.
Let's go ahead. I'm going to try as much as possible to answer as many questions as possible. We are in Lebanon. First question to Lebanon.
Today, he intends to tell the truth. In November 2018, he was arrested in Tokyo for concealing income and embezzlement. We're talking in the tens of millions of euros. Carlos Ghosn answers point by point, but his favourite defence is to attack the Japanese justice system.
I did not escape justice. I fled injustice and persecution, political persecution. Having endured more than 400 days of inhumane treatment in a system designed to break me and unwilling to provide me even minimal justice, I was left with no other choice but to protect myself and my family.
In the front row, his wife, Carol, is loving it. She too attacks the country that locked him up.
Est-ce qu'il vaut pas mieux dire sa vérité dans un vrai procès plutôt qu'en conférence de presse?
Non, j'espère qu'il va être jugé, mais cette fois, ça va être équitable. Pas comme aujourd'hui. Vous n'avez aucune chance.
A few days later, we travelled 10,000 kilometres to Japan, the land of Mount Fuji. At the Ministry of Justice in Tokyo, another press conference is held, much more confidential. There are a few cameras and a lot of computers, but no foreign TV. The minister of this democratic country makes no secret of her anger towards the world's most notorious fugitive.
逃亡について正当化するために、世界に対して、我が国の司法制度について虚偽の事実を申し述べて喧伝をしていることでありますので、法務大臣としては看過できないと思っています。重ねて申し上げますが、我が国の司法制度は人権を保障し、適正な手続きが規定されており、適正に運用されております。
One man's word against another's. Japan defends its system, which is certainly severe, but which bears fruit. Its goal: zero crime and zero tolerance. Order and discipline. We'll discover this when we go back to the Nagano prison. The prisoner's day is planned down to the minute. At 7:50 a.m., the inmates leave for work. Shaved heads, in uniform, they march in step. Then they have to give their numbers. Work is compulsory for everyone, but unpaid. It is an integral part of a prisoner's sentence.
生活目標、体調管理をし、節度ある受刑生活を送ろう。体調管理をし、節度ある受刑生活を送ろう。わからぬことは指示を待て。わからぬことは指示を待て。
Before starting work, they do a workout for 3 minutes. The entire life in the prison is organized around several factories of 50 inmates each. Cushions and shoes are made there to go on to be sold. Prisoners will receive a small allowance on their release. According to the management, work is necessary for rehabilitation.
社会の寛容性だとか、そういうようなものを作業を通じて学ぶこともできますし、また作業を通じて働くことの喜び、こういったものを彼らに学ばせることもできるということで、やはり作業っていうものはその刑務所の中での生活というのに必要不可欠なものだというふうに考えています。
Prisoners are not allowed to talk to each other during working hours. Again, this would be an inconceivable rule elsewhere. In order to be allowed to say a few words to each other, they must ask permission by raising their hands.
Hi.
At mealtime, the guard carefully checks the portions. They must be exactly the same. except for the rice, where the amount depends on the activity carried out. Right after lunch, the inmates are given a short break. They can read the newspaper or cut their nails. They can even talk. Then comes the best part of their day, leisure time. Prisoners have time reserved for entertainment every day except weekends. Again, they go there marching in step. The guard walks backwards to keep a close eye on the line. Inmates have precisely 40 minutes to relax. But first they have to warm up, just like at work. Then they hurry to make the most of it. They can play ping pong, or board games. There is even a little TV for karaoke. The break is soon over. It's time to go back to work, which lasts 8 hours a day. It's time for us to interview a prisoner. A 27-year-old man is brought to us. The interview takes place in an office, in the presence of 2 wardens. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison for theft. He has a year and a half to go. Despite the presence of the guards, he dares to speak out.
やっぱり会話ができないっていうのは正直ちょっと苦しいところかなっていうのはありますね。それで喋ったからといって確かに悪巧みをしてるとかいろいろ勘ぐられちゃうとは思うんですけども、厳しくするところってそこなのかなっていうのがちょっと自分なりに疑問に思ってるところですね。懲役受刑者っていうよりはちょっとした軍隊みたいな感じにちょっと一瞬思いましたね。
In the evening, inmates are encouraged to study. At 7 p.m. sharp, the TV turns on. They can watch it until 9 p.m. Then, lights out. The Japanese have been used to discipline since childhood, but for foreign inmates, it's hard to take. Another Frenchman has a traumatic experience in the Japanese prison system. He has inside experience of the way inmates are treated. Marc Carpeles is 35 years old. He has a mild form of Asperger's syndrome. He's also a computer genius. He was locked up for 11 months, but he decided to stay in Japan after his release.
はい、3名です。吸わないです。はい。
A good meal, a pleasure he forgot while he was incarcerated.
J'ai perdu 35 kilos au commissariat et j'ai repris 5 kilos au centre de détention. J'étais complètement méconnaissable en sortant du commissariat. Le plus dur, c'est vraiment d'attendre et d'être seul, de rien avoir à faire et de ne rien pouvoir faire. T'es dans une cellule de 6 mètres carrés. Et être là, assis, et attendre, et attendre, et attendre. Ce qui est dur, c'est non seulement de ne rien avoir à faire, mais c'est aussi de ne pas savoir quand ça va se finir.
His case is a huge scandal in Japan. It starts in 2014. Mark Karpeles made his fortune in Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. But when his company goes bankrupt, he has to apologize publicly to an audience of journalists. Soon it is discovered that millions of euros have disappeared, and he is accused of stealing the money. The nightmare begins.
Ça, c'est le 1er août à 6h41 du matin. C'est le moment où en fait, les policiers sortent de chez moi, avec moi au milieu. À ce moment-là, c'est assez compliqué parce que d'un côté, j'étais entouré de policiers. Il y en a 2 qui me tiennent de chaque côté. J'avais aussi une corde autour de la taille qui était connectée à un policier derrière moi. Ils ont insisté à ce que j'ai une casquette sur la tête. Dans la tradition japonaise, c'est on arrête quelqu'un, on lui cache le visage.
Mark Karpeles spends 4 months in custody. Then he is transferred to Kosuge prison, where Carlos Ghosn was locked up. To prove that the prisoners were being treated well, the authorities opened their doors to journalists last year. There too, everything is clean and tidy. But according to Mark Karpeles, it's not the decor that drives you crazy, it's the rules. In Kosuge, the prisoners are awaiting trial. They don't work, and they're in solitary confinement.
Dans la cellule, il faut être assis au bon endroit, de la bonne façon. Il n'y a que 2 façons de s'asseoir qui sont autorisées, donc soit à la japonaise, soit en tailleur. À la japonaise, c'est la façon de se poser comme ça. Donc on a notre petite table ici. Et en tailleur, évidemment, je peux le faire. Hop, en tailleur, on peut se mettre comme ça. Pas le droit de parler, pas le droit de siffler ou de faire quoi que ce soit. Pas le droit, évidemment, de taper sur les murs, de faire de la musique ou quoi que ce soit. Juste le droit donc de rester là, d'être assis, de lire ou d'écrire. Il y a un moment, j'ai pété les plombs, j'ai donné un coup de poing contre la porte. Les gardes sont arrivés en renfort, genre une dizaine, quinzaine de gardes. Et je me suis retrouvé ficelé et transporté dans les cellules de comment dire. Ils ont une cellule spéciale pour ces cas-là.
It's an empty padded cell where he spends 4 hours tied up. Then he is punished for 4 days. No more books or writing materials. Finally, after nearly a year behind bars, he is tried, declared innocent of embezzlement and released. But he is given a suspended sentence on another minor charge. Officially, he remains a guilty man. These conditions of detention do not seem to bother the Japanese. On the contrary, the prison administration is proud of its prisons. It even promotes the most severe of them, the famous Kosuge prison. With its impressive X-shaped architecture, the building is colossal. It's the last place you'd think of going for fun. And yet, once a year, the authorities organise a huge festival there. In the public space surrounding it, there are 10,000 people celebrating, just a few metres from the cells. On stage, a Japanese pop star. All day long, one show follows another. Then, visitors head to the stands set up for the occasion. Here, people can have their picture taken with a prison guard's cap.
やっぱり逮捕じゃなくて入るのいいですか？これこれ逮捕された時のイエーイ刑務所大好き
On stage, law enforcement officers are showing how effectively they stop the bad guys. But the highlight of the festival is when visitors taste the dish typically served to Japanese prisoners, curry and rice. People have to wait an hour to receive their tray. But for €3, it's worth it.
美味しいです。多分大量にいっぱい作ってるから美味しくできる。
The visitors are in no doubt that prisoners are treated well.
思ってるより中入ったらいいんじゃないかなと思いますよね。だってご飯食べれるでしょ。で、あれでしょ。もうスモーキングがダメなのとアルコールがダメなぐらいでしょ。普通に生活できるよ。で、テレビも見れるんでしょ。
Well-fed prisoners, efficient police officers, and friendly guards. The festival presents an ideal prison system. Only one person is shocked by this PR exercise. We asked Thomas Savikas to come with us. This Lithuanian man spent 6 months inside the prison for attempting to kidnap his own daughter. In Japan, in divorce cases, foreign parents are systematically deprived of their children.
Why would you create a fiesta in a prison? It's a prison. What kind of brainwashing is actually happening in here is just mind-boggling. You see around, little children be enjoying the day out. It's like a park. Does it look like a park? Any kind of human right violations is happening right there.
He's not fooled. He knows this prison.
No, it's way, way better. It's almost restaurant-grade curry. And believe me, in there, they do not give you this kind of curry.
The public are not here to worry about the fate of the prisoners. At the following stands, products made from prisoners from all over Japan are sold. Leather goods, furniture, and in particular, comfortable and slightly retro shoes.
オートメーションの機械作りじゃないんで、それを考えると、それなりの値段かなっていうふうには思いますけど。
Again, Thomas can't believe it.
冬にここは暖房がついてないが施設なので、こんないっぱいお金があるので、なんでか暖房がついてないの？
暖房がね、それはこれは本部があって、細かい話になっちゃうんですけど、本部がありまして。
He says he's never seen any of that money. No matter how outraged Thomas is, the party goes on. A concert by female students in suits. Free candy floss for the children.
Yeah!
The prison system is not about to change. But there is another aspect of the treatment of detainees that is criticised by lawyers and many NGOs, the policy of confessions. In Japan it is called hostage justice. If the accused deny the accusation, their custody can be extended indefinitely. They are questioned intensely until they confess. This is what happened to businessman Carlos Ghosn. He was arrested on the 19th of November 2018, just after landing at Tokyo Airport. In this footage, which has travelled around the world, a team of prosecutors are conducting a search of his private jet. Out of sight. Carlos Ghosn does not reappear until 2 months later, during a court appearance for a bail application. Television cameras are not allowed to film it. The stern-looking president denies his request. After 108 days of detention, he is finally released for the first time. Here he is coming out of prison, hidden under a mask. disguised as a worker on the advice of his lawyer to fool journalists. It's an attempt that deceives no one. The press follows him. As he plans to hold a major press conference on the 11th of April 2019, he learns that he will be arrested again on new charges. This is the method of prosecutors. Split up the charges to allow the period of custody to be extended, sometimes for months. So Carlos Ghosn records a video.
The first message is I'm innocent. I spent 108 days in prison because I've been always consistent with this position that I was innocent of all the charges.
The next day it's back to prison for another 22 days, a system of going back and forth in detention, with the sole purpose of breaking the accused. This obsession with confessions can destroy lives. This is the story of Keiko Aoki. Every week she comes to put flowers where she lost a child in a house fire. Keiko managed to save her son from the fire, but not her daughter, who was 11 years old.
娘が好きな黄色の花をなるべく黄色を備えて、ひまわりがあったらひまわりを備えてます。火事になった時はすごくもうここに来るのがものすごく苦しくって辛かったけど、その後20年っていう空白があって、それからはなんかここに来たら娘に会えるようななんかそういう思いで。
Keiko spent 21 years in prison. She came out at the age of 51. Along with her partner, she was accused of causing the fire to kill her daughter and collect the insurance money.
娘が生まれた時にアルバムとしてこれ刺繍もしてもらって、私これ友達の結婚式成人式は行ってないから友達の結婚式で振り袖着たんです。これは小学校の学級写真みたいな。
Right after the fire, the police refused to believe it was an accident. For them, the cause is undoubtedly criminal. They look for a culprit at all costs and start harassing Keiko. Her daughter has just died, and she has to undergo interrogation.
そうやってひどいことを言ってるかなと思ったら急に優しくなるんですよ。ね、もう娘に悪いと思わないのか、娘に謝らなあかんやろと、そういうことを言われるわけですよ。そうしてんなとかなんかこうね、お前の認めたくない気持ちはわかるぞってこうそんなことまで言われて、なあって言われても私はもう疲れてうなずいたんですよ。
To the police, it's a confession. It's based on this that Keiko will be convicted. But in prison she decides to fight. With the help of lawyers and human rights associations, she gets an appeal. A miracle. In Japan, miscarriages of justice are rarely recognized.
これが本当に実際にあった風呂釜まで作ったから無罪が証明できた。やけどない今見てもらった通り私の人形がいてて119番にしてた時に実験だったら私は焼けてしまってる。でも私は全く怪我もやけどもない。これは8月2016年の8月10日に無罪判決をもらって、それで出てきて皆さんの支援者の前に出てきて挨拶無罪になりましたっていうお礼を言ってるところですね。で隣にいるのが弁護士女性に。皆さんのおかげで裁判所から真っ白な無罪判決をいただきました。ありがとうございました。
The state recognized their mistake and compensated Keiko Aoki. 750,000 euros for a ruined life. Keiko is no exception. She's not just a victim of a zealous police officer. It's an entire justice system based on confessions. This is confirmed by Hiroshi Ichikawa, a former prosecutor who was taught how to extract confessions.
これですね、千枚通しっつって、分厚い書類を止めるときに日本では穴を開けて、でそこに紐を通して書類を閉じるんですよ。こういうのは検察庁には多分今もあるんじゃないですか。千枚通しって言うんですよ。特に外国人の被疑者には人権なんかねえんだっつってこう目の前に突きつけるとか、あるいは本当のことを言わない被疑者はそこに立ってろって立たせるとかね、要するに一口で言えばもう拷問と等しいような手段もやれというふうに言われたことありますよ。なので大きな声で怒鳴るとかバカ野郎とかこの野郎とか罵倒するのは当たり前だと。
As in the Keiko case, if suspects break down, they are beyond all hope. Here, about 90% of convictions are based on confessions, considered the ultimate proof in Japan, despite the risk of miscarriages of justice. A risk that is all the more serious due to the fact that Japan is one of the few democracies still carrying out the death penalty. One man by himself embodies all the injustice of the system. Aged 84, Iwao Hakamada spent half of his life on death row for murders he did not commit. Since his release in 2014, he has been walking every day for 3 to 4 hours. He's a local celebrity. He is accompanied by Mashiko, a woman who has taken a liking to him. He came out of the prison a broken man after decades of solitary confinement. He doesn't say a word, totally shut off from the rest of the world. Mashiko accompanies him home. She's trying to make his old age easier for him.
クリームつけてくださいっておっしゃる。クリームつけてくださいっておっしゃるのがマッサージしてくださいっていうことなんですよ。とっても気持ちいい顔されてすぐに眠られます。長いこと一人でいたので、この人のこのぬくもりも忘れました。溶かしたいなと思って。
Iwao Hakamada has been living with his sister since his release. She has kept some happy souvenirs of her brother from when he was a professional boxer.
マニラ行った時の写真ですね。
And then the heartbreaking letters he sent from prison.
私のことで親類縁者にまで心配かけてすみません。黄金味噌の事件には真実関係ありません。私はシロです。私は今落ち着いて裁判を待っています。
But his trial goes badly. Forced to confess, burdened by fabricated police evidence, he is sentenced to death. He holds out, but then something breaks him.
隣の部屋の人が処刑された。ね。その時にはバタバタっと出てきて、昨日処刑があった。それがショックだったと思う。
In the months that follow, he becomes overwhelmed. He is finally released after 48 years in prison when DNA tests prove his innocence. We met a man who knows better than anyone else the trauma of death row inmates. Toshio Sakamoto, a former prison warden. He has witnessed many executions.
これは死刑場、これが板落ちるところですね。このように立たせる。これはロープをつなげる滑車ですね、天井の。これは隣の部屋でこのスイッチを押すと踏み板が落ちると。で3つあるのはどのスイッチがつながってたか分からないように3人の刑務官に押させると。
But convicts face an additional form of torture. They spend an average of 7 years on death row and don't know when they will be hanged.
事前に知らないでその日にだから死ぬ本当に30分1時間前にしか死刑の執行わからない。1人か2人で連れに行く。でどこ行くんですか、事務所だっていうぐらいの嘘をついて連れ出すみたいな。で廊下で待っていて、それから4人5人で連行すると。
No time to say goodbye to their loved ones. Condemned prisoners are led to the gallows. Last November, an event revives the debate on the death penalty. For the first time in 38 years, the Pope is visiting the Japanese archipelago, which is home to 1.5 million Christians. Hakomada is one of the Vatican's VIP guests. He disappears in the midst of an exalted crowd as the Pope enters the arena. He is photographed next to his sister in the front rows. His presence alone is a strong signal against the death penalty. The Pope slips in a sentence full of innuendo.
Como comunidad cristiana, somos invitados a proteger toda vida. Alguien, por haberse equivocado, por estar enfermo o en una prisión, ¿no es digno de amor?
These words might not be enough to abolish the death penalty. 80% of Japanese people support executions. Last year, 15 convicts were executed. More than 100 people are still on death row. How can such a judicial system be explained? It responds to a philosophy rooted in the culture of the country. Order and harmony are cardinal virtues that everyone must respect. This is what Jake Adelstein, an American journalist who has been based in Japan for 30 years, will show us.
Even Shibuya Crossing, it works organically well, right? When the lights are turning red, you don't see, like people scrambling across anymore. Everybody kind of knows that, okay, time to wait for the next light. People are very quiet. Now, is there a rule? Is there a discipline? Is there is it like China where there's a spy camera watching you and you get points deducted from your social credit because you're speaking on the train? No. People just obey the rules because that's what they do here. And that's what you're taught from the time you're a child,
And in Japan, there are rules for everything.
Rules make Japanese society work. Cigarette smoking, except in designated areas, is now banned in most parts of the city. That's a great thing. There is an unwritten rule that you're not supposed to eat and walk at the same time. Now that isn't enforced, it's just how it is. Also drinking and walking at the same time are forbidden. Japan is a country that constantly likes to warn you about things that you shouldn't do. This one is like, no playing on the escalators, no baby cars on the escalators. Parents hold the hands of your kids when they're on the escalators. Don't wave your hands up and down on the escalators. You follow me?
It's on the metro that these standards, internalized by the Japanese, are felt the most.
Yep. All right. Excuse me. All right. Well, the other thing that's striking is that we're really annoying people because we're talking on the train and nobody ever talks on the train. Because listen, do you hear that sound? Like people talking? No, you don't, because they're not talking. It's one of the things I like about Japan. And even before cell phones, nobody was talking. Everybody's on the train. Japan plays a great deal of emphasis on harmony. And in some ways, the criminal courts expect the accused to harmonize with that system and just go along with it, even if they're not guilty. And when people say no, I didn't do it, sort of the audacity of you to challenge the entire system, this one individual, is almost like, well, you deserve whatever you get because you're a troublemaker.
It's a love of order on which the country was built. Human relations are based on a respect for hierarchy and social norms. And if the Japanese forget them, their neighbors are there to remind them. It's 8 p.m. in the Kabukicho district of Tokyo. Every 2 or 3 days, volunteers of a respectable age meet in a former police station. The only weapons on this little patrol are glow sticks and fluorescent vests.
ショッピングストリートを守るために、特にお客さんを、悪い人から守るために、また事故のないように危ない、今大事なのはこういうところに、タバコをこう投げます。こう投げる。そうするとここから火事が出ます。それでこっちから伝わります。これはもうダメです。すいません、ここはお酒禁止ですから。いやだからダメですね。はい、これ警察の取り締まりになっちゃいますから。いいですか。
フランスのテレビなんだ。
日本で放送してない。
日本では放送してない、それならいいんですけど、日本で放送されるとちょっとまずいの。
Kazuo is a retired policeman. Like his colleagues, he takes his role very seriously.
この中はあれですよ、起こし天国だからペデストランパラダイスだから車は入れないんだ。4時以降はみんな駐車してるのはね、ジャパニーズアゲンストだ。ロードトラフィックローダー。
Kazuo writes down the number plate to send to the police, but he doesn't intervene when the driver arrives. His role is just to inform the police and issue warnings, with the bonus of a moral lesson.
ダメだこれ。みんなお前のこう捨てるんだ。ほら見てみて、火がついてるばっかだこれ。海外じゃないよ。何かこれ見てろ、火ついて、人これが歩いてんだから。我々みたいに注意してやれば少しは考える。だからそういう人がいないとダメなんだ。ご意見番みたいな昔年だからもうね、70我々なんか人生あと何十年もないから、もう笑ってるけど本当だよ。誰かそう言ってやる人がいないとダメ。日本がダメになる。
An hour and a dozen warnings later, the patrol is over. Groups like this exist in every city in the country. Is it this way of life that makes crime rates so low? In any case, crime is decreasing year after year. But it is increasing in one part of the population, the elderly. Some old Japanese people prefer prison to solitude. We're going to the southwest of Japan, to Iwakuni, famous for its American base. Its historic wooden bridge, and its women's prison. Japan is getting older, and so are the inmates. Here, 1 in 3 prisoners is over 65. Some of them are 85 years old. Like the others, they work 8 hours a day.
Okay.
The only difference is that they are given back their walkers when they leave the factory. It is sad to see these old ladies bent over in the cold of the prison. With no heating, just 2 to 3 showers a week, this is far from a luxury retirement home. Still, some prisoners seem relieved to be behind bars. This 70-year-old woman is on her 4th stint for shoplifting. Outside, like many old Japanese people, she was alone and let herself go. You can't help but wonder if she got locked up on purpose.
食事ははっきり言って美味しいです。私は美味しいです。社会で3度食事したことなかったですよ。だけどここではきちんと3度出していただいてね、こんな健全な生活したことなかったです。寝るのももう12時回ってとかいう感じだったですけどね。だけど作業にしてても一生懸命やってますので、皆さんそうだと思うんですけど、9時の就寝でも寝られるんですよね。社会ではとんでもない寝られないです。
The guards have had to adapt to this new population. It is a sensitive issue. The guard we talked to has prepared his response.
高齢化に伴って、日常生活を自力で、できない者に対しては介護とか日常生活の世話、などを刑務官等が行わざるを得ず、特に症状が進行すると歩行や、食事の補助、排泄の処理も必要になってきますため、集団ではなく個別の対応が求められます。
Most of these inmates are here for petty theft, stealing food, shoes, or handbags. In 20 years, crimes committed by senior citizens have increased fourfold in Japan. In an attempt to curb the phenomenon, the prison has set up a rehabilitation course. The program includes workouts and advice on how to stay in shape. And in particular, amazing training to learn how to take care of babies.
今特に家族化でもう一人で子育てしててイライラしたり悩んでいるお母さんたちもいると思いますので、ぜひ皆さんもちろん自分のお孫さんの子育てもお手伝いしてほしいんですけど、ご近所の方の子育てもしっかり手伝ってほしいなと思います。
The objective is to help these old women find their place in society when they are released, and therefore prevent them from reoffending.
涙が出てくる。自分には子供がないから産んでないから。
All of Japan's misery in one image. In a few years, maybe, these will be the last prisoners. Old people, alone, with no choice. Elsewhere, prisons are emptying. It is difficult for a Westerner to understand this way of life based on order and discipline. But the Ghon affair illustrates something else. It's also difficult for the Japanese to understand why a man who has promised to answer for his actions before the law preferred to flee and not respect the rules.